Good morning, Gear 4. Since we finished our second trimester resource pack, we're going to revise over the first and second trimester during the rest of this week and the next week, inshallah. We are going to start with the first lesson in in the first trimester. We were discussing or knowing and learning more about the world biomes. Before starting talking about the biomes, we are going to remind ourselves with different definitions that we have learned before. The first definition is the definition of the environment. The definition of the environment is all the living and non-living things that surround a living thing. So let's take, for example, you yourself, you're a living thing. You are surrounded by different kinds of living and non-living things, and for example, you have your family; those are living things. Your pets are living things. You also have your room, which has your bed and your mat or rag that you step on. The walls around you, all of those things are non-living things. So we can we can safely say that this is your environment. Everything that surrounds you, whether it's living or non-living things, this is your environment. Now let's take a look at the picture in front of you to differentiate between the living and non-living things. In this picture, there are living things such as the cow and the grass, and there are non-living things like the soil that the grass is planted in, and of course the river. So if you are standing there, or if we are talking about the environment of the cows, so this is pretty much the environment of the cows, because they are surrounded by living things like the grass, and they are surrounded by non-living things like the soil and the river. The next definition that we are going to remember together is the definition of ecosystem. So what is the ecosystem? Ecosystem is made up of all the living and non-living things that interact in an environment. So what is the difference between the environment and the ecosystem? It's actually the word. If you noticed here, let me use the laser pointer. If we looked here, you will find the word interact. This is actually the main difference between both the, definitions of environment and ecosystem. In the environment, we were talking about just what is surrounding you, but in the ecosystem, we are talking about what you are interacting with. So what is your ecosystem? Your ecosystem is everything around you that you interact with, whether it's living or non-living. So for example, you shake hands with your parents, for example. So this is an interaction between you and your parents, which they are living things. Or you're talking to your friends, so this is a type of interaction, of course. Or you're interacting with non-living things. For example, you're breathing the air around you, you're drinking the water in your tap, you are eating the food on your table. So all of those things are actually interacting with non-living things. Now, the word interact means use. You're using the things that surrounds you. So in this picture, for example, you have zebras. They are drinking the water, so they are interacting or using the river that surrounds them. You have here the giraffe. The giraffes are living things, and they are interacting with another living thing, like the trees. They are interacting with the trees for food. Now, next is the definition of the habitat. So the habitat is the place where an animal can find its food, water, and shelter. And we discussed before that your own habitat is your home. This is the place where you find your food inside the fridge, you find your water, and you have your bed where you sleep. So this is your habitat. So for example, we say that the camel's habitat is the desert. Why? Because this is where they find the suitable food and the suitable amount of water they need and the suitable shelter for them to stay in and feel safe. Type. So now let's together make or see how it gets bigger. So you have your shelter, for example, the bed you're sleeping in, and the bigger definition is the habitat. So the habitat is the home, your home. And the bigger definition is the environment, everything that surrounds your habitat. For example, when you get out of your home, you will find other people, those are living things, they surround you everywhere, or animals, those things are surrounding you, and you will find, of course, some other non-living things like the air or the water. All of those are non-living things. Now the next definition is the definition of population. So for example, here in Egypt, we say that the population of the Egyptian people is 100 million people. So this is the population of the Egyptian people. So in order to understand the word population, you have to know that the population should be of a group of organisms of the same kind or the same nationality in the case of Egyptian people. So the population, if we want to know the definition of population, you have to be talking about a specific type or a specific kind of organisms. So a population is a group of organisms of the same kind living in the same place. So all of us are Egyptians and all of us live in Egypt. So this is the definition of population. In this picture, you can see all of those zebras. So this is a population of zebras because all of them, they live in the same place. They live in the woodland, and all of them are zebras. So we can safely say that those are a population. This is a picture of a population of zebras. So now let's talk about the most important definition, which is the definition of the biome. So the biome is the large places having the same kind of or its own kind of animals and plants and weather and soil. It has to, just a big place, a large place, having the same type of animals. For example, if we are talking about something like a desert, in the desert you will not find a polar bear, simply because the desert weather is not suitable for a polar bear. But you will find other types of animals, and you will find those animals only in the desert biome, like the camels, like some sort of fennec foxes, like some types of snakes, because it suits them to live in the desert. Their body can handle the desert. So you will find those types of animals only in the desert biome. If we're talking about plants, you will never find a cactus, for example, in, a place with lots of snow, because simply the cactus only can live in a place like the desert, because it suits their way of growing. So, and the temperature, of course, you will never find the South Pole or the North Pole pole's temperature is, for example, 50 degrees Celsius. Doesn't make sense. You will find only those types of temperatures in the desert. So that's why we call it a desert biome, because it has specific types of animals, it has specific types of plants, it has specific types of soil, of course temperature and rainfall. So we have 6 types of land biomes, because we have 2 types of biomes, whether it's land biomes or water biomes. Let's first talk about the land biomes. We have 6 types of land biomes. The first thing, or the first one, is the grassland. The second is the desert. The third is the deciduous forest. And we have the tropical, we have the taiga biome and the tundra biome.